Text, and sorry I haven't posted another video in a while, but here we go. Here's another one. What I have is an Apple iMac, and it's an older one. It's a late model 2006, one of the last white iMacs, as a lot of people call it, before they went to the aluminum frame. But it's still an Intel chip, and these iMacs are actually notorious for overheating. And what happens is the way it's built the way it's built is that the fans actually run really slow. And the way it's supposed to work is that once the machine gets hot, the processor and the video chip, then that one fan that actually blows air through both heat fins for the processor and the graphics chip, that fan's supposed to ramp up. Most of the cases it doesn't. A lot of people use SMC fan control under a Mac environment, and that will actually ramp up the fans based on, whatever you set it to. So what I do is I have the CPU and the GPU fan ramped up to max speed, and the optical drive and the hard drive fan in SMC fan control set to minimum. So that way it's still pretty quiet, but it never overheats. And I just repaired a late model 2006 recently. I just picked this one up, this exact same thing, another late model 2006 24-inch on Craigslist from a dude who sold it for 150 bucks. And he said, yeah, the graphics card needs to be replaced, can't afford it. So he sold it for parts for 150 bucks. I jumped right on it. Alright, so let me show you what it does first before I show you the quickest and cheapest way to repair this thing. So, okay, here's the iMac 24-inch late model. I believe it's on late 2006. Powers up, and then nothing, just garbled video. That's it. Okay. So, I'm sure there's about a million how-to videos as far as how to take these things apart, so I'm not going to waste your time. I'm just going to cut the video here, take out the graphics chip, and I'll show you how to repair it with just a simple, something simple that you can just buy from Walmart, and I'll show you once I get to that point. Okay. Okay, so the iMac's all taken apart. I've already removed the video card, as well as remove the heatsink from the video card. This is the video card in the iMac, the last white iMacs that were based on the Intel chips before they switched to the aluminum frame. Well, these are the video cards. I believe the form factor is like an MXM1 or something like that for all you techies out there. And by the way, if you have an MXM2 card, those are not compatible in these systems. So don't try taking a newer MXM2 card and pop it into one of these old iMacs. Apple, as you know, they're very proprietary. They like to lock things down at the firmware or the EFI. And if you pop in an MXM2 card into one of these older white iMacs, it just ain't going to work. Not unless you hack your firmware on your logic board, which most people, just no one's going to take the time to do that nowadays. They just go out and buy a new computer. But for all you do-it-yourselfers, your project people out there, that's something worth trying. And a lot of people on a lot of different forums are waiting for somebody to do that and print out some instructions. Me, I don't know how to do it, so I'm not even going to try. But anyway, the MXM video card is right here. And this is an NVIDIA 7300 GT, if I remember correctly, or GS, one of the two. They're both pretty crappy cards, but back in the day they were pretty top of the line. Well, not really, but anyway, moving on. This is what fails. What happens is this chip right here. That's your graphic processing unit. That's your GPU. This chip, along with these RAM modules, overheat. It gets so hot that the system can't really cool it down effectively. That, first of all, your thermal paste on here starts spreading all over the place, which is good, but not to the extent where it starts dripping down everywhere else. Because remember, the orientation of this video card is like this, because iMac's usually upright. These RAM chips right here, they use like a thicker thermal pad, and that actually starts dripping kind of like ice cream all over the place. And there's a little piece of it right there that I didn't clean off yet. But I did take a liberty of cleaning off most of the thermal paste and the thermal sheets, thermal pads that were on this video card. And what happens is it gets so hot that underneath here, it's soldered down to this printed circuit board via what's called, I think they're called like ball joints or solder ball joints or something like that. Well, those little ball joints, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see on this. Well, anyway, there's like literally hundreds of little solder joints underneath. There's no way you can do that by hand. So the easiest way to do it, and this is where a lot of people make a lot of money, and I'm going to make a lot of people mad because this is their bread and butter for some repair people. You take your chip as is. Make sure you remove all the little risers, the little there's like a little thermal riser, little thermal sheets, anything paper or anything that'll burn. You want to remove before you do this because you're going to use a little simple torch. That's it. A butane torch, by the way. I'm not sure if there's any other types of torches, but here you go. But it's fairly simple. What you want to do, if I can get this thing lit, there we go. Now it's burning. Is simply burn the chip. Now you don't want to spot burn it in one area. You want to kind of do a circular motion as it melts, as it heats up the chip so hot that it actually melts those solder joints, those ball joints back. And I've already done this on several machines and repaired them. But a lot of people like on eBay that sell repair services for motherboards, video cards, that kind of thing, this is all they do. So just make sure you have some nice, or you can use a heat gun, I guess. But direct fire is fine. These chips can take it, as long as you don't spot burn it. So just keep on moving it around, make sure it gets nice and hot. Once you smell the smell of solder, you're good, because that means the solder's melted. I'm sure there's more technical ways to do this or whatever, more safer ways, but hey, I don't call myself Casual Techs for nothing. Okay, I'm starting to smell the solder now. So just keep on moving that heat source, multiple areas on just that chip, and just make sure you don't burn anything outside of the area. Or you might like melt a RAM chip or something like that, or a different IC. Just stick to the GPU. That's all you got to do. Just melt that GPU back into place. Well, you're not melting the GPU, I'm sorry. You're melting the joints underneath the GPU. And this is the easiest way to do it. Some people will actually say bake it for 15 minutes or this and that. Don't bake it. Don't bake it. Just use a torch and direct the heat directly, or yeah, direct the heat to where it actually needs to go, the main GPU. Okay. Just gonna keep on going here just for safekeeping. Make sure I get everything good. I don't know if you can tell or not, but the chips get really shiny because it's getting really clean because all the impurities are burning off, and it's just getting the sucker so hot. And by the way, this won't melt. It probably will if you just keep it in one place. Keep on putting the flame, or the fire, or heat source, whatever, in one place. But as long as you keep on distributing the heat nicely, all the heat will just transfer across the entire chip, and it'll melt those ball joints underneath, and just put the chip right back into place. You don't need to apply pressure or anything like that. Gravity is good enough. And if you touch this, by the way, you will burn yourself. So don't do it. And this is my tool of choice, is an Altoids can. Just hold the lid and you have a nice air spot underneath so heat doesn't transfer to that can itself. Plus it's made out of aluminum, as you know, it doesn't transfer heat very well. Okay, that's it for now. Nice and hot. I can smell the solder. We'll let that cool down, and I'll come right back. I'll put it together. Oh yeah, by the way, here's the iMac, all disassembled. Parts over there, parts to my right, over here on the iMac box, on the side where you can't see, all over the place. So I'm just going to let this cool down, and I'll come right back. Alright, so the chip is all cooled down now, and I can handle it. What you need to do now is put 4 thermal pads onto the RAM chips, and then put thermal grease onto the actual GPU. But before you do that, make sure you put back the little risers and stuff that Apple puts on there, so we have the proper spacing in between the video card and the heatsink. So that's that. And then there was this stupid thing, I don't know, some kind of foamy spacer. It's kind of dumb. Well, actually, it's kind of smart because this little foam right here just encircles just surrounds the GPU. And what's funny is these GPUs always end up getting so hot that everything starts dripping. So these, I think what they did is put this foam here so that way it catches all the drippings because they knew it got so hot. Because other than that, there's no other real purpose for it being there because it doesn't really space out or hold the heatsink above it. That's what this thing does, and that's what the thermal pads do. And by the way, the thermal pads, if you can't reuse the old ones because they usually look like melted ice cream, it's just smeared all over the place, you can buy some thermal pads, thermal sheets on eBay, pretty cheap. I think I got like a pack of like 20 of these things right here for about, I don't know, a few bucks shipped. You don't want the thin ones. I believe you want like 1.2 millimeter or 2 millimeter. I forget how thick it is, but it's not the real thin stuff. And Apple doesn't really give that kind of information out as far as how thick the thermal pad is. Matter of fact, try to call Apple and ask them how thick the thermal pad is that goes in between their heatsink and their GPUs. Or, I'm sorry, their video cards. They'll just be perplexed. They won't know what to say. But just do some experimenting. Just buy a bunch of them off eBay. You can buy all kinds of different sizes for less than $10. I'm pretty sure this is like a 1.2 or something like that. Anyhow, I went ahead and chopped one up into 4 pieces. Here you go. So I'm just going to start putting it on now. And back in the days when I was a field tech, I remember following up and doing some work after one of my compadre field techs. And there's a similar thing with these Sonys where you have to replace, with some Sony laptops, where when you replace a bunch of parts, they want you to replace all the thermal pads too. And they send you these little thermal pads, and of course there's plastic on both sides to keep the stickiness sticky, I guess. And what this tech had done is they put the thermal pads on, all 4 thermal pads. Well, in this particular card, all 4 thermal pads. They put all the pads on, but they forgot to take off the plastic from the other side. So what happened was, whatever that device was, it got so hot that it actually melted the plastic inside the system. Remember, this is just protection plastic. It melted it inside the system, and it got all over the board, and it caused a little fire. It was not a cool sight to see, especially when you're supposed to be the repair technician fixing the computer. You take it apart, and it's melted and burned all over the place. I mean, how do you explain that to a customer? Well, anyway, I guess you can just explain it as is. Anyway, I'm an idiot. But here you go. Here's your 4 thermal pads. And then I have an old tube of silicone or thermal paste. A lot of people say, oh, use Arctic Silver, it's blah, blah, it's silicone. Use freaking silicone. The name on the bottle doesn't really matter as long as it serves the purpose of making sure there's no air in between the chip and the copper on the heatsink. Because air is, you don't want any kind of pockets of air in between where heat is being transferred to, because air won't dissipate the heat properly into the heatsink. Okay, so I put the thermal paste on there. I've got the thermal pads. I'm just going to put the copper, actually it goes this way, the copper heatsink back onto the video card, and then I will install it to the iMac, which is up there. Don't mind my little mess of junk. Anyway, I'll install it back into the iPad, give it a test before I completely assemble it, and then we'll go from there. So I'm not going to bore you with watching me put this together. I'll stop this and I'll start it up again once I get everything installed. Okay, so it's all put together, well, except for the front cover and the camera. But I'm going to power it on here for the first time, and we shall see how it goes. So here's power. And I went ahead and cleaned it out too. I mean, if anybody ever fixes your computer and they don't clean it out, they're just either lazy or they're cheap. Get them to clean it out. Okay. And I guess I should use a keyboard and mouse just in case. Now, I purchased this machine, but I don't know if there's any data on it or anything like that. I just wanted to get it working, and of course I can just image it with whatever, Windows or Snow Leopard. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Lion or Mountain Lion just because of the whole App Store thing. They want everything to go App Store, so I'm sticking with Snow Leopard. Plus, it's nice and stable. Alright, hold on, my fingers aren't working very well. Now, first thing I do whenever I power up a new, well, not a new Mac, but a Macintosh that's just been repaired is reset the PRAM. And for those of you that don't know, the hotkey, or I'm sorry, the key combination to reset the PRAM is Option Apple R and P, or Option Apple PR, as in PRAM. So power on, Apple Option PR, let it beep 3 times, and then, I'm sorry, let it chong or dong, I don't know what to call it, dong, it's funny. Anyway, let it chime for 3 times, and then that's resetting the PRAM. So power on, Apple Option PR. Let's see, alright, we have video. That's a good thing. Still holding Apple Option PR. That's the second time, and the video looks good. Still holding Apple Option PR for PRAM reset. Third time, let's see what we come up with. And of course, the whole purpose of this was to get the GPU repaired, and it looks like it is, just based off of what you see on screen. And I'm tired of my camera autofocusing here. Oops, accidentally hit the power. It's funny. Okay, let me hit the power again. Okay. So the screen isn't garbled like how it used to be. That's good. And this only has 1 gig of memory, so if anything, it's slow just because of the lack of memory. RAM, that is. For those of you that don't know, memory is RAM. Hard drive is your storage space. That's actually a very good sign. That looks really good. I'm gonna pop in the Snow Leopard DVD, just in case. And awesome! Our video looks good. It doesn't know what to boot to, that's why we're getting that error, but that's a very good sign. That means the video card has been repaired with just a butane torch. Alright, so we're going to start the Snow Leopard install just to verify there's no bad video spots all over the screen or whatever. Well, of course you can tell anyway because it's white all over the place, but hey, I just want to see the nice blue of a fresh install. Let's see if that happens. So if everything else is functional, it should boot to the CD automatically here. Just give it a moment. This will ever stop refocusing. Alright, we got the Apple logo. Looks good. So again, for those of you that weren't paying attention during the beginning, I bought this from a dude off of Craigslist for 150 bucks. It's a 24-inch iMac. I believe it's a late 2006 or like an early 2007. It's one of the last white iMacs. It does have the Intel chip, but this is before they switched over to creating it with an aluminum frame. And those have the same exact issue as these. There's something with the video chips in these. Apple doesn't like to ramp up the fans by default from the factory because for some reason they think that it's I don't know, not cool for all you fanboys out there for the fans to be that loud as a PC. But there's a reason why fans spin, to blow air out, and if they don't like blowing the air out, it just keeps the hot air in, and you have a lot of these machines fail. But alright, so it's booting to CD here. As soon as we see the blue screen, I know we're good to go. Well, the blue screen of the installation, the setup screen. And then I can get the cover back on and reattach the camera. I could probably resell this for about 500 bucks, maybe 500-600, make about a $400 profit. But I think this is going up in the boys' room as a little just DVD movie watching station or whatever. Okay, still going, still going. I apologize for it taking so long. It's just with only 1 gig of RAM, 512 on 512 megs on each side. It's very slow. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. It's not that hard. Come on. Stop focusing on the wrong thing. And this is the first time I powered it on ever since I put it together, so I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if it's gonna kernel panic or not. And I just saw the screen change. We got blue. Looks good. Focus, focus. Stay focused. We got gray. That's good. All right, we are good to go. So. That's how you repair a video chip. And that actually works on video cards that are experiencing corruption, like even AGP cards, PCI Express cards. Just take off the heat sink and the fan, make sure there's no paper, plastic, none of that stuff, and just melt that GPU. Don't melt the GPU, I'm sorry. Heat up the GPU enough so the solder, the ball joints underneath melts, and connect the GPU back onto that printed circuit board. Just make sure, because when it's off like that, just heat up the top. It'll eventually melt the solder joints, and it will come together. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Again, this video is provided for informational purposes only. If you screw up something or break something of yours, it ain't my fault. Don't blame me. Can't blame me. Well, I guess you can blame me, but I take no responsibility. I'm providing this video as is. Or not really as is, but I'm providing this video for information only. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Aloha.